Midnight, somewhere over eastern France. A delta-winged shadow climbs through the clouds, carrying the most terrible weapon ever built by a democracy. For over 3 decades, this aircraft was France's ultimate insurance policy, a single-purpose machine built to end wars before they truly began. But what if France had gone further? What if the Mirage IV's successor hadn't just carried the bomb, but vanished from radar entirely? This is the story of the aircraft that carried France's nuclear deterrent alone for over 20 years, and the stealth bomber that almost took its place. A story of Cold Warfare, French independence, supersonic engineering, and a hypothetical machine that could have rewritten the rules of stealth warfare. The story begins in 1956, during the Suez crisis, when France discovered a painful truth: it could not act militarily without America's permission. President Charles de Gaulle demanded total independence. A nuclear deterrent France would control alone, free from NATO's chain of command. This vision became known as the Force de Frappe, France's independent strike force, and it needed a delivery aircraft unlike any other in Europe. Dassault Aviation, led by legendary designer Marcel Dassault, was given an almost impossible task: build a supersonic bomber from a fighter's bloodline. Engineers scaled up the Mirage, TI's iconic delta wing, added a second crew position, and built-in room for the ultimate cargo, a nuclear bomb. On June 17, 1959, the first Mirage IV prototype took to the sky above France, and Dassault knew immediately they had built something extraordinary. Powered by twin Mururoa Atoll turbojets, it could sustain Mach 2 for over 30 minutes, a feat no other European aircraft could match. By 1964, 62 production aircraft rolled off the line, forming the backbone of a deterrent force unlike anything else on the continent. Every inch of the Mirage IV served one goal: penetrate Soviet airspace at supersonic speed, deliver its weapon, and escape before interception. The pilot and navigator sat in tandem, surrounded by dense analog instruments, calculating a route meant to be flown only once, a one-way mission of last resort. Beneath its belly, a special recess carried the An-11 gravity bomb, later replaced by the safer, lighter An-22, France's first true nuclear payloads. To reach deep into enemy territory, the Mirage IV needed help. Enter the C-135F tanker fleet, France's aerial lifeline, stretching its range across continents. In 1966, over the Pacific atoll of Mururoa, a Mirage IV crew carried out the unthinkable, the only live nuclear weapons release in the aircraft's history. The test, codenamed Operation Tamaray, proved the entire weapon system worked: aircraft, navigation, and warhead, functioning exactly as designed. Round-the-clock alert crews trained for a mission they hoped would never come. Strapped into cockpits, engines ready, minutes from launch at any hour. For over 3 decades, dozens of Mirage IVs sat on permanent alert, engines fueled, within France's borders, the sole guardian of its nuclear deterrent. In 1986, the fleet evolved. 18 aircraft were rebuilt as Mirage IVPs, carrying the new ASAMP standoff missile instead of a gravity bomb. The new missile meant crews no longer had to fly over the target. They could launch from standoff range and turn for home. As the Cold War faded, the Mirage IV found a second life, flying reconnaissance missions over the Balkans, Chad, and Iraq, unarmed but essential. In 1996, after 32 years, the Mirage IV was retired from its nuclear role, replaced by the Mirage 1000. But reconnaissance flights continued for nearly a decade more. On June 23, 2005, the last Mirage IV touched down for the final time, ending 46 years of history that began with a single Cold War prototype. The Mirage IV gave France something no ally could hand over: total control of its own survival, decided in Paris, not Washington or Brussels. It proved that a mid-sized nation could design, build, and operate an independent strategic deterrent, an achievement matched by very few countries on Earth. Everything you've just heard is real history. But now, we ask a different question, one built on real engineering, not fantasy. What if, in the 1980s, France had chosen not to rebuild the Mirage IV, but to replace it entirely with a stealth-shaped successor? This is speculation, grounded in real aerospace science, not a prediction, but an exploration of what France's engineers could plausibly have built. By the early 1980s, the United States was quietly perfecting faceted stealth, shaping with the F-11-17 program. Technology France was watching closely. A French Mirage V stealth program, purely hypothetical, would likely have paired radar-absorbent composite skins with an internal weapons bay, sacrificing speed for invisibility. Instead of Mach 2 dashes, this successor would have relied on low observability, flying subsonic, hidden from radar rather than racing past it. Realistically, France lacked the budget and industrial base the United States poured into stealth research. A program like this would have taken over a decade and strained the entire defense budget. A more plausible path, a smaller stealth-enhanced successor, entering service in the mid-1990s, not replacing the Mirage IV outright, but overlapping with it for years. Its likely mission profile would echo the Mirage IVP, carrying an internal ASMP-derived missile, penetrating contested airspace undetected, then withdrawing at high subsonic speed. Politically, a stealth deterrent would have reinforced France's independence narrative even further. Invisible, untouchable, and entirely French, built from nose to tail. But stealth shaping and supersonic dash are difficult to combine. This hypothetical aircraft would likely have given up the Mirage IV's signature speed entirely. Today, France's nuclear deterrent flies aboard the Rafale, carrying the ASMP-A missile, combining speed, precision, and moderate radar reduction, but not true stealth. Compared to America's B-21 Raider or China's stealth bomber programs, our imagined French successor would sit in between. A boutique deterrent, not a mass-produced fleet. In the end, France chose a different, more cost-effective path, spreading its deterrent across submarines, missiles, and the Rafale, rather than a single stealth bomber. A stealth Mirage IV successor was technically plausible, but practically it would have cost France more than its deterrent strategy could justify. The real Mirage IV's legacy wasn't stealth. It was speed, independence, and endurance across 4 decades of Cold War tension and beyond. Today, preserved Mirage IVs stand silent in museums across France and Britain, reminders of a machine built to never be used and never was. Perhaps that was its greatest achievement. A bomber that flew for 46 years and whose true mission was simply to keep the